Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome over to the stream today. It's fantastic to have you aboard. Man, I am so excited to talk about this past week of comic books. There were an incredible amount of material published from Marvel, stemming from, I think, one of the darkest issues of Amazing Spider Man that I've seen in quite some time, all the way to the very next chapter of the From the Ashes era for the X-Men as we prepare for the massive Raid on Grey Malkin crossover. Man, Marvel was just full of giving this week in terms of the X-Men line too. That wasn't even everything. We got a really fantastic issue of Phoenix as well, featuring so many cosmic elements coalescing together in just an extremely fascinating amount of ways here. I was so thrilled about this latest issue of the series that managed to position the Black Order a little bit differently than we've seen in some past installments, and just really tease maybe the upcoming appearance of Thanos in that series. I think that is going to be an absolute blast. But I wanted to wrap up our introduction today talking a little bit about NYX. NYX is one of Marvel's series starring younger teenage heroes like Prodigy, Wolverine, and Miss Marvel. I was such a big fan of the most recent issue of that series that came out here. Watching authors Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing really dive deep into the Cocoon mystery that kind of kicked off the first couple issues of NYX was super exciting to experience. Also, I was a really big fan of some of the brand new crossover material that they have implemented from Krakoa in that comic book too. In fact, we're going to go ahead and start off our stream by previewing the fourth issue of NYX, which is set to bring the Krakoan back over to the narrative. That's a plot twist that I've been waiting for an incredibly long period of time. Without further ado, I want to officially welcome everybody over to the stream today. I think it's a really exciting time right now over at Marvel Comics. It feels like the current From the Ashes era for the X-Men is currently in full swing. Right now, we are waiting for some big, massive crossovers. But in terms of the line right now, I think we're past some of the earliest elements of the introductory phase. And I'm starting to see a lot of these comics really dole out some fascinating plot elements. We already mentioned this, but Phoenix is doing a great job preparing for Thanos by implementing so many cosmic elements of Marvel, from the Black Order to Parakis to the Universal Church of Truth. Elsewhere, UncannyXMen right now is spinning so many fascinating narratives between these mysterious outliers characters like Death-Dream and Ransom fighting off against the X-Men. And then meanwhile, in the background, the plot threads from Raid on Grey Malkin are starting to coalesce, and readers are headed to a massive confrontation between Rogue, Cyclops, and I believe the mysterious Dr. Ellis, who's currently taken over the Xavier Institute and possibly trying to turn it into a mutant prison. On the other side of the fence, I just really wanted to briefly mention this past week's issue of Amazing Spider Man. I really thought issue 58 was so deadly in terms of Janice Lincoln for her character arc. Watching her just reap so many consequences of her actions from the past couple issues of Amazing Spider Man has also been an absolute blast. I think Zeb Wells has done a great job crafting almost like a crime narrative in terms of the final issues of Amazing Spider-Man, and I can't believe just how much he's dialed up the animosity between Peter Parker and Tombstone. However, on this stream in particular, I want to go ahead and focus on this last week's issue of NYX. We previously mentioned this as well, but I think this book has been phenomenal, taking on such a younger team of X-Men with characters like Miss Marvel, who just joined the X-Men line as a result of the most recent Hellfire Gala for the X-Men. Plus, we have Sophie Cocoon joining the team, who's looking to step out from the rest of her sisters and really take on her own sense of identity. Issue 3 did just a great job telling a really sad story detailing some of the most recent adventures over for Anole. And also, I want to go ahead and preview the next issue of NYX coming in over from Adventures in Poor Taste. Let's go ahead and look at this fascinating issue that looks like it's actually going to go ahead and spotlight the incredibly fascinating mutant known as Prodigy. I was actually first introduced over to Prodigy in terms of the Young Avengers series over from Kieran Gillen. I love that comic book. I'm so happy to see this character finally taking on such a prominent role in the From the Ashes world for the X-Men. Okay, so this one is coming in over from Adventures in Poor Taste. This is NYX issue 4, Genius, Student, New Mutant, Young Avenger, X-Men. As Prodigy, David Elaine has been all these things and more. Courtesy of Marvel Comics, Adventures in Poor Taste can share an exclusive first look at NYX out October 30th, continuing the series' focus on a different mutant in each issue. This issue will feature Prodigy. Number 1 was Miss Marvel, number 2 was Wolverine, and number 3 was Anole. Really quickly here, I want to say it's so interesting how NYX has managed to leverage the point of view from the various members of their past across each and every issue. The fact that issue 4 of NYX is taking on the point of view of Prodigy, I think is going to be so fascinating, as we already discussed. This character doesn't get the spotlight enough in terms of the rest of his X-Men, adversaries or colleagues. So it's going to be really striking here to see Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly work on this brand new series. It looks like we have guest art on this issue over from Enid Balam as well. Let's check out the solicit here. Genius, Student, Young Mutant, New Mutant, Young Avenger, X-Man. As Prodigy, David Lean has been all these things as more, but now he faces his most difficult challenge yet. Facing down his past and looking his present in the eye, Prodigy must fight to understand what mutant culture really means to those left behind by Krakoa, and how far he'll go to protect the mutants of New York City from a devastating and dangerous conspiracy of their own. We've already hinted at this previously, but I think NYX in particular has done a great job managing some of the darkest plot threads of Krakoa and bringing them right back to the surface. The first issue of NYX, I'm going to spoil the identity of this mysterious villain called the Krakoan here, but the first issue of NYX actually revealed that it's the character formerly known as Hellion. Watching him resurface in this brand new comic book as a villain who is really facing some hard feelings as a result of what he's experienced on Krakoa in past X-Men stories is so tragic, especially in the wake of some of these brand new, X-Men mutant characters responding to the threat. I'm particularly thinking of Miss Marvel, who just recently became an X-Men and probably has very limited knowledge of Hellion, or the Krakoan as he's now known. So here's our first page on NYX4. I think this is so striking here as we get to see the character of Prodigy leaping across rooftops and joining in with his partner towards the end of the page. There's a really great composition here. I'm loving how fluid Enid Balam's artwork is in terms of the narrative. I think this is just a great way to reorient readers into the pages of this really obscure but interesting X-Men series. Next up, we get a much more exciting page as Miss Marvel is using her powers of manipulating her own torso and limbs and just making herself incredibly large while keeping the character of Sophie Cuckoo over in the palm of her hand. Meanwhile, we have Prodigy in the background seemingly analyzing what these characters are doing. And there's just a great sense of negative space in the background here, teasing Sophie and Kamala going up against this character of the Krakoan, which was teased in the very first issue. We've had some other foes in the background of NYX as well, like the mysterious Local as well as Mojo, but I'm just in awe of how Lansing and Kelly have paced this series by introducing the Krakoan in the first issue, introducing more plot threads, and then bringing him back up here for the fourth one. Also, I just think this work from Balam is so incredibly expressive. I'm loving all of the angular ways he's able to draw the Krakoan's like really shattered cape, as well as these other areas he's manipulating here in the background. I am very excited about the tone of NYX as a whole. I feel like this series has such a great cast of characters. It has a really strong creative team, and I'm loving so many of the villains that this creative team has also chosen here. I am thrilled to see the Krakoan go up against Kamala Khan, Laura Kinney, and the rest of NYX, and I just can't wait to see what else Marvel Comics has in store for this really tense and dangerous new comic book series. Okay, well, that's going to go ahead and do it for NYX on our stream today. But as we already previewed at the beginning of our stream, Marvel Comics has so many books out today, or actually this past Wednesday for From the Ashes. However, next week we are actually getting the debut of an ongoing series that I've been incredibly excited for nearly months here on the channel. One of my favorite artists across the Krakoan era was none other than Lucas Werneck, who just delivered so many beautiful and angular lines to accommodate the incredibly ambitious scripts that author Kieran Gillen was turning in. I particularly love the way that Lucas Werneck was able to implement his artwork with the Storm character. And Lucas Werneck is actually returning to Storm with a brand new ongoing series, but this time he's bringing writer Murewa Ayodele with him. Ayodele previously worked on the I Am Iron Man comic book over from Marvel, and I just think he's an incredibly interesting talent. I am so excited to see Ayodele teaming up with a talent from Krakoa to launch Storm. Storm is a character as well who I think has really been rising in popularity thanks to some of the, like, I don't know. I mean, even the Marvel versus Capcom video game I know has really been attracting a ton of fans of X-Men. I think X-Men 97 has been raising her profile. And I really think it's good on Marvel to capitalize on all of this with a brand new ongoing series. We previously got a Storm series not that long ago that I actually did a review for, but that one frustrated me to no end because it wasn't actually in continuity. Thankfully, though, this is everything we've been asking for. It featuring writing from Murewa Ayodele and artwork from Lucas Werneck. Let's go ahead and check out the preview over from Adventures in Poor Taste. Earth's mightiest mutant, now headlining her own series. Aurora Monroe has lived many lives. She's been a thief, a goddess, an X-Men, a queen, and now an Avenger. Speaking of, we are actually going to detail a ton of Avengers news later on in the stream. Please look forward to that. She is the most prominent, most respected, and most powerful mutant on the world stage. And in that role, she intends to be a force for positive change. First up, a major meltdown at a nuclear facility in Oklahoma City draws Storm from her sanctuary in Atlanta and into a moral conflict that will test her iron resolve, guest starring X Factor's Frenzy. I'm actually surprised. I feel like this solicit text actually gives a lot of information about what Storm is doing in her brand new book. First of all, we have this sentence here stating that she intends to be a positive force for change.